Hello everyone and welcome back to another continent themed perfect roster video for Planet Zoo 2. So in this one I've decided to tackle the largest continent of all, Asia. So like the last video, I've divided it up into subsections themed around different regions. So we have regions like Southeast Asia, Eastern Asia, Amur, Central Asia, Arabia, the like. We've got a lot of animals for each one of those because frankly, when you're the largest continent on the planet, you're gonna have a lot of species. And yeah, this one took me a lot longer than the Africa video. However, at the end, I will also be including some African species that I embarrassingly forgot in the last one. But I'm going to include them here so that they are part of the list. And yeah, let's get into it. So first off, we are starting with Southeast Asia, easily the most biodiverse region of Asia, with volcanoes, thousands of islands, and some really famous and iconic wildlife. So we'll go through these fairly quickly. The Komodo dragon, the Bornean orangutan, the sun bear, Malayan tapir, proboscis monkey, North Sulawesi babirusa, binturong, siamang, saltwater crocodile, Asian water monitor, mainland clouded leopard, lar gibbon, Asian small-clawed otter, giant Malaysian leaf insect, and now we go on to the many new species for this, with the Sumatran orangutan, as Sumatran orangutans are actually more common in zoos where I'm from, in Australia. We have more Sumatran orangutans than Bornean orangutans, so I think it would be quite handy to have it, and it is about the regional familiarity that I talked about in the last video. More people would be familiar with Sumatran orangutans in certain places than Bornean orangutans, so that's why it's here. Then we have the domestic water buffalo, the bantang, the false gharial, my favourite of all crocodilians, the Visayan warty pig with quite the haircut, the Visayan spotted deer, northern white-cheeked gibbon, we have a number of primates here, yellow-cheeked gibbon, silvery gibbon, Muller's gibbon, Francois langur, East Javan langur, silvery lutung, red-shanked duke langur, dusky leaf monkey, the crab-eating macaque, which I unfortunately came to the realization was endangered. I actually thought they were doing fairly alright because they're quite adaptable, but unfortunately not. And I would say this is the most depressing video I've ever put together because so many of the animals you're going to see in this video have an endangered, or critically endangered status, or even just simply vulnerable. Like, the number of animals that are under threat in Asia is just, it blows my mind, but not in a good way. Celebes crested macaque, Malayan porcupine, Sunda pangolin, Bornean bearded pig, the greater mouse deer, and the lesser mouse deer. Either one would work just fine, but I think it's good to have both, as you can use them in two different ways. Like, you can have the greater mouse deer as sort of the animal that you keep in a habitat where you've got stuff in the air, like flying foxes and such, and maybe monkeys as well. And then you can have this little mouse deer wandering around on the bottom. And lesser mouse deers, they're pretty small, so they're good for sort of walkthrough exhibits, I'd say. Asian forest tortoise, elongated tortoise, the Prevost squirrel, the Siamese crocodile, and the Philippine crocodile. We've actually got a number of crocodilians in this video. The fishing cat, I love this picture. Just you got one waiting to leap into the water after fish, and then this one has just taken a belly flop. Like, I love these cats, they're really cool. Asian palm civet, Sunda slow loris, leopard cat, greater hog badger, Sumatran rhinoceros. So I've got a bit of a category in this video. So there are a number of animals here in this video that are not in a lot of zoos, and some are not in zoos. Let me explain. So Sumatran rhino used to be in zoos, and it used to be kept fairly well, particularly at Cincinnati. And today, it is still kept in a semi-captive environment. So it's kept in zoo-like settings. It has indoor housing. They give them enrichment over in Waikambas National Park, and they look after these animals pretty well. And like, you've got people working with them quite often. So I've only included animals that have a sort of captive representation that may not be necessarily a zoo, but a captive facility where they are kept in sort of a zoo-like setting. There's just no visitors, of course. But yeah, Sumatran rhino is here because of that reason. The large flying fox, Austin's palm civet, northern Luzon giant cloud rat, reticulated python, absolutely legendary snake, the Sunda king cobra. So we've actually got two of the king cobras in this video, one will come later. But for those who don't know, king cobras were recently divided into 4 different species, so all being part of the genus Ophiophagus. So that actually means snake eater. Just a fun fact for you there. But the Sunda king cobra is the one that is found in Indonesia, and is actually the one that I'd say is more common in zoos. So got it here, but there's another one coming a bit later. White-lipped pit viper, the Burmese python. I was surprised to see it was vulnerable, because they're doing really well in Florida. Like, instead of killing the ones in Florida, just capture them and bring them back to Southeast Asia, because I feel like they could use some help over there. Blood python, beauty rat snake, the tentacled snake, really bizarre reptile. Would love to see it, because we need some more obscure reptiles, but also the iconic ones that you want in your reptile houses. But I think tentacle snakes, they're actually really fairly widespread in captivity, so you can see them in many zoos around the world. So I'd say it's a worthwhile addition. The monocled cobra. So this is actually the only true cobra I've ever seen. So I've seen the king cobra, but king cobras are not part of the Naja genus, and so are not true cobras. But monocled cobra, they've got one at the Taronga Zoo in Sydney, so I was really happy to see that. And I hope we can get more cobras in Australian zoos, because they're really cool snakes. The Javan spitting cobra, Asian vine snake, mangrove snake, one of the prettiest snakes on the planet, that. Yellow-lipped sea crate. So there are actually a number of sea snakes in captivity. So there's one that was rescued and is now living at the Auckland Zoo in New Zealand, as well as, I remember there was one at the Toledo Zoo, I'm pretty sure, in the US, and a couple of other facilities have them as just rescue animals. But they're really great snakes, and I'd say if you're gonna have a snake roster, have at least one sea snake. And the yellow-lipped sea crate is generally the one that is seen in captivity. Painted terrapin, southern river terrapin, Asian giant soft-shell turtle, giant Asian pond turtle. Oh man, this is where I started to get really depressed about the animals that I was including on this list, because so many of these, particularly the turtles, are critically endangered, and that was just hurting my heart, really, because I love turtles. Turtles are really great animals, but to see so many that are endangered in Asia was it didn't make me feel good, to say the least. But I think the aim for this Asia roster would be to bring attention to these animals that really do need a lot more help than they get, and let more people know that they exist, for one, because not everyone knows of a painted terrapin, a giant Asian softshell, or a giant Asian pond turtle. Like, it's about familiarizing people with these animals, and if people learn to like these animals or grow to just love these animals, then there's going to be more people who want to protect them. The black-breasted leaf turtle, these guys always have the best eyes and expressions. Like, look at that guy on the left. Like, they are a very charming critter. Burmese star tortoise, Philippine sailfin lizard, tokay gecko, Vietnamese mossy frog, long-nosed horned frog, rhinoceros hornbill, rufous hornbill, knobbed hornbill, oriental pied hornbill, the Philippine eagle, one of my favourite eagles on the planet, Bali myna, the Javan green magpie, the great argus, crested partridge, Malayan peacock pheasant, Palawan peacock pheasant, absolute stunner that bird. Like, that is easily one of the most beautiful birds on the planet. The green peafowl, Asian fairy bluebird, Luzon bleeding heart, Nicobar pigeon, pink-necked green pigeon, the red jungle fowl, the red-whiskered bulbul, white-crested laughing thrush, the buffy fish owl, Brahminy kite, Edwards pheasant, maleo, atlas moth, emerald swallowtail, common palmfly, common Jezebel, Bhutan glory, Chinese reddish mantis, the orchid mantis, and now we move on to the Indian subcontinent, where another load of iconic Asian animals resides. The tiger, the Asian elephant, Indian rhinoceros, sloth bear, dhole, Indian peafowl, gharial, wild water buffalo, blackbuck, nilgai, lion-tailed macaque, Malabar rose, giant forest scorpion, samba deer, cheetah, barasingha, Indian hog deer, Indian muntjac, gaur, golden jackal, the pygmy hog, another animal like the Sumatran rhino that isn't in zoos but it has a captive facility that breeds them in a zoo-like setting, rhesus macaque, northern plains grey langur, Indian giant squirrel, Indian crested porcupine, mugger crocodile, smooth-coated otter, the lion, masked palm civet, rusty spotted cat, one of the smallest cats on the planet, Indian grey mongoose, Indian star tortoise, the northern king cobra, Russell's viper, Sind saw-scaled viper, common crate, Indian cobra, oriental rat snake, Indian python, leopard gecko, great hornbill, Asian coal, Indian spot-billed duck, white-breasted waterhen, Indian flying fox, Indian roller, black-crowned night heron, rose-ringed parakeet, Alexandrine parakeet, and the plum-headed parakeet, a whole range of beautiful parrots there. The Eurasian hoopoe, Asian woolly-necked stork, greater adjutant, the lesser adjutant, great white pelican, ruddy shelduck, knob-billed duck, Egyptian vulture. and the black kite. Now we move on to the Himalayas, probably one of my favourite habitats in all of Asia because of the animals that live there. Need I say more? Snow leopard, markhor, Tycoon, Asiatic black bear, Himalayan monowl, Kalish pheasant, Barrel, Himalayan tar, demoiselle crane, bar-headed goose, yellow-throated marten, mainland sorrel, Asian golden cat, lammergeier, Himalayan griffon, golden eagle. Now we move on to Eastern Asia, so the regions of China, Taiwan, Japan and the Koreas, with the giant panda, Japanese macaque, Père David's deer, Chinese pangolin, Japanese raccoon dog, red-crowned crane, golden snub-nosed monkey, one of my favourite primates ever because of the blue. My favourite colour is blue, guys, even though my favourite animal is the red panda. I know it's confusing, but yeah, I love these guys. They're absolutely beautiful and do exist in zoos outside of China. So Paradise in Belgium actually got some recently, and I think a couple of other zoos in Europe also have them, but they're really great primates. The common raccoon dog, for anyone who wanted to recreate mainland Asia exhibits, and potentially also introduced European species, as the common raccoon dog was actually introduced to a few parts of Europe. The Chinese alligator, Chinese goral, the red and white giant flying squirrel. That would easily become the longest name in Planet Zoo. I thought the Colombian white-faced capuchin monkey was long. Red and white giant flying squirrel. I mean, it might not be the longest in terms of overall length, but it is a fairly long name. Probably the most words as part of a name. The golden pheasant. Here we just have a swathe of pheasants, guys, because pheasants are absolutely gorgeous. Lady Amherst pheasant. The Reeves pheasant with those exceptional tail feathers. The silver pheasant. The blood pheasant. Swinhose pheasant, and one of my favourites of all Asian birds, the Temminck's tragopan. The mandarin duck. We need more waterfowl. Like, seriously, mandarin duck is up there as probably the most necessary. The swan goose, the blue-crowned laughing thrush, the Japanese quail, the tufted deer, the Chinese water deer, Reeves muntjac, sika deer, the Japanese sorrel, crested ibis, white-naped crane, the Chinese giant salamander, the largest of all amphibians, the Japanese giant salamander, the second largest of all amphibians, the oriental fire-bellied toad, an absolute beauty, the Japanese fire-bellied newt, another real stunner, the Mangshan pit viper with some of the best camouflage of any snake, the Chinese softshell turtle, the golden coin turtle, the Chinese crocodile lizard, the Chinese water dragon. Now we move on to Central Asia with the Przewalski's wild horse, the only subspecies in this video, as I've got the idea for subspecies to be variants, but in the case of the Przewalski's horse, there's not too much else in its genus. The tarpon is extinct, and the only other member of the Equus genus is the domestic horse, which is a subspecies. The Saiga antelope, the Bactrian camel, the domestic Bactrian to be specific, as the wild Bactrian is endangered. The Pallas's cat, domestic yak, Wild yak. So there are actually a couple of wild yaks in some captive zoos, particularly in China, I believe, and Mongolia I think has them as well. But yeah, if we got the domestic yak or the wild yak, I'd be happy either way. Though, to be honest, the wild yak is a legendary looking animal. The square-faced Tibetan fox. You know, when they added foxes to Minecraft, they should have just used the Tibetan fox, because the square face is already there. The Corsac fox. The black-necked crane. The onager. Kyang. Goitered gazelle, Dalmatian pelican, the largest of all pelicans, and probably the pelican face I've seen the most on social media. Like, you just see their very eccentric appearance. The Eurasian spoonbill, the Baikal seal, and the Baikal teal. Very interesting how both endemic animals, or at least iconic animals of Lake Baikal, they're just very much the same name, just changed the letter of the last part of the name. Amur, so the region of Amur in this video includes the Amur section of eastern Siberia, so that's where you find your Siberian tigers and a few of the other animals here, and we've also got the Kamchatka Peninsula as part of this too. So we have the brown bear, the wolf, the wolverine, the moose, reindeer, wild boar, red fox, leopard, Steller's sea eagle, the sable, the Siberian musk deer, the Steller sea lion, the largest of all sea lions, the spotted seal, very happy on that rock there he looks, sea otter, harlequin duck, common eider, Eurasian eagle owl, and the Blakiston's fish owl, one of the largest owls on the planet. And our last Asian region, the Arabian Peninsula. We have the dromedary camel, the cheetah, the striped hyena, the honey badger, the sand cat, the caracal, Hamadryas baboon, the rock hyrax, Arabian oryx, Nubian ibex, Dorcas gazelle, African wildcat, Persian fallow deer, the bizarre Arabian sand boa, the amazingly camouflaged and intelligent spider-tailed horned viper, the really weird secret toad-head agama, and the infamous deathstalker scorpion. Now we get on to the missed African species, so prepare yourselves because a couple of these are uber-duper embarrassing that I forgot them. Black wildebeest, sacred scarab beetle, so that's two animals we already had in Planet Zoo that I forgot. Then the naked mole rats. How did I forget this? I can't fathom a reason as to how I forgot this, and I will never forgive myself, I feel, because this animal is so iconic, many people know what it is, and somehow it slipped my mind. Don't get it. The blue duiker, one of the smallest of the duiker species. The Speaks gazelle that has an air sac in its nose that it inflates to impress mates. Another embarrassment for me, the banded mongoose. I forgot it. It is the next most famous mongoose after the meerkat and is the one that actually does hang out with warthogs. The second species of flamingo native to Africa, the lesser flamingo. The African spoonbill. The African sacred ibis. The trumpeter hornbill. Vulturine guinea fowl. Wattled crane. The blue crane. Crowned eagle. The Marshall eagle, which I unfortunately just found out was endangered. Like, man, like, we really need to take a lot better care of the animals that we share this planet with. Like, seriously. Marshall eagle should never have become endangered. All of these animals should never have become endangered. Like, seriously, we just need to do a lot better. More people need to care about nature. The white-headed vulture. The rhinoceros viper. Just saw these in real life for the first time a couple of months ago. Like, they're really cool snakes. This is probably the most embarrassing of the forgotten exhibit animals, the Madagascar giant day gecko. You see its face in so many brands. Like, there's a brand that was literally called Gecko and had this gecko because it is easily one of the cutest geckos and one of the prettiest too. Like, you've got that beautiful green skin and then the red markings dappled across its body. Like, how did I forget this? And then last, but certainly not least, the Rodriguez flying fox, a species very widespread in zoos in the Americas, and a few in Europe, I'm pretty sure, as well. But yeah, I don't believe that I forgot this guy either. But that is all for Asia, and a little bonus for Africa. So I wanted to make this video much quicker than the last one, because the last one, well, it was over 40 minutes long, and I didn't want to have to keep you guys here for that length of time in the future, especially for a continent as large as Asia. Because if I talked for a lengthy time about each animal, this video could have been 2 hours. That's a movie. That's not just a YouTube video. That is a movie. You could have probably watched most of one of the Star Wars movies in that time. But yeah, that is all the animals that I have for Asia. If I've missed some, I'm sorry, and I will probably do a similar section at the end of the next video, which will be Oceania, which is where I'll really be able to shine because, well, I live here. So yeah, looking forward to putting that video together. Yeah, so let me know what Asian species that you want to see as part of your perfect Asian roster, and divide it into sections so it's easier to read. But yeah, I really enjoyed putting this video together and just seeing how much Asia has to offer, because yeah, it's an amazing continent full of amazing creatures, and this video didn't even really touch upon the ocean. Like, we've got a couple of pinnipeds there, but yeah, the ocean around Asia is really something. So I look forward to putting that together in a future ocean-themed video, although I'll probably be doing multiple ocean videos, given the ocean is a bigger place than any one of these continents. So, yep, that is all for the Asia Perfect roster, and I will see you in the next one.